What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to focus on the 3 color wheels inside of Adobe Premiere Pro. Now let's get started. Now, if you enjoy watching these videos and you want to see more tutorials, please subscribe to the channel because I'm constantly making new tutorials. Now let's get started. Let's head down in the timeline. You'll notice I have some clips added to the timeline. And at the end, you notice we have a video that the playhead is hovering over, and that's what we're going to focus on. It has these 2 people walking across the green field, and they finally meet and they embrace. So obviously it's beautiful, it has lots of lush green, and it has wonderful mountains in the background. Kind of has this washed out sky, but it's nice and bright. So we're going to focus on that. So let's head up here to the top where they have the different layouts set out. And right now, as you can see in the blue, we're in the editing layout. Let's hop over next door and go to the color layout. Notice that changes to blue as it changes the layout. We're going to head over here to the Lumetri color panel. There's different things you'll see here. There's the basic correction, there's creative, there's curves, and then there's color wheels and match. That's what we're going to focus on. So click that, open it up, and you're going to notice there's 3 different color wheels, one for the shadows, one for the midtones, and one for the highlights. And then next to each one of those circles, are a slider up and down. That kind of does brightening. If you go to the top, double click to reset to the middle, or also it drops and darkens it. Now whenever you brighten that or darken that, it just does the one next to whichever circle it's next to. So that would just affect the highlights. Do the one here in the middle, it'll just affect the midtones. And then in addition for the shadows, this would just affect the shadows. So just remember, whichever slider you're using, it's only going to affect the shadows which are next to it, or if you're next to this one in the midtones, or the highlights. Let's focus here on the image. Obviously the green grass is beautiful and rich. We have the mountains behind here. We kind of have the trees here. It's a little bit darker here in the corner, and the bright sky that's kind of blown out and extra bright. So I chose this clip because there's the contrast of the extra bright here on top, the kind of midtones here in the middle, and then there's the dark section over here. So let's just say we want to kind of make the sky and this light part a little more blue, because right now it has a white tone to it. So we'll head over to the highlights. You'll notice here there's a little crosshair that you can grab, and you can pull it to any color you want. So let's just try to make that more blue. So I'm going to do it to an extreme just to make it more clear. Obviously I think it would be too much blue to do it like this normally, but I want to make a point. And it kind of drags very slow because you're supposed to make subtle choices. I'm trying to do an extreme for the point of the tutorial, but normally when you move it, it moves very slow because it doesn't want you to overdo it and make it look fake. But you can see here, obviously the white turned much more blue. And then you can brighten this up if you want, or because it's so bright, I'm going to actually lower it a little bit so there's a little more color, and you'll see how the white is now turning more to blue. So the white up here has changed to blue because we lowered it and darkened it. Now the midtones, this kind of green field, let's make it more green, just to make more of an example. So I'm going to bring this over and you can see how rich it gets. But because that's a little extra, I'm going to brighten it up a little bit to wash it out. And then now we have the grass really punched out. But you'll notice even here in the darks, because that has a green tint to it. So if we head over to the shadow section here, and let's go opposite in the green. Now remember, this is only going to affect the darker areas in the shadows. So I'm going to head over to magenta, which is the opposite of green. And that's only affecting the dark shadowy areas. And then if we bring the brightness down on the shadow areas, it'll give it more of a contrast. And you notice how this became much darker, and it took away whatever green hint came from the midtones, me changing that took that away. So now we have a much bluer sky, a much more rich green grass, and then in the darks we did the opposite to take away any sort of extra green that was added to that, and then we lowered it to make it more contrasty and kind of have a sharper look. Obviously all these adjustments are extreme. I would never do that like as a project and put it out this way. I'm just trying to show you how the wheels work, and if I overdo it, it makes it more clear. And if you want to see what it's like before, head up here in this little section in the color and wheel section on the top. This little arrow, if you unclick it, it'll turn it off and then turn it back on. Now I've unselected all the choices we made. You can see how the sky is pretty much white now again. And if I click it, obviously has a blue hint and a tint to it. Same thing with the grass, it's extra green. And like I said, this is obviously an extreme. I would never do it like this for a client or for myself. This is just for examples. And then if you want to undo things, if you double click here, it'll undo it. And if you double click anywhere in here, it'll reset it. I'll click over here, double click, it'll reset it. Double click, it'll reset it. Same thing, double click here, you've reset it back to normal. One other thing that you'll see up here that says comparison view. Let's just say you already color graded a clip and you have it, it's perfect, everything's done, and you want to match a clip further down the timeline in it. So let's just pretend this clip here we want to match to something previously. If you click comparison view, it's going to throw a clip here. And you notice this little blue slider here, left to right. This is your entire timeline. So this is everything from my timeline down here at the bottom, from the beginning all the way to the end. So you can slide it over whichever clip you want to try to find the one that fits. So let's just say, let's go back to the very first clip, this ocean. So then you can say, okay, the sky obviously is blue, and then you can kind of manipulate how you want. So you can at least see them side by side, and you have a direct reference to adjust the color on the new clip. And at the bottom of this panel also, you can click this button, it'll do a split screen and or on top of each other. If you're grading a different sky to match the sand on a beach, or if you're trying to match a building or a sunset to get the right tone or whatever it is, you can have different points of view on this. Head back here and you can slide it anywhere you want to find whichever clip you have in the entire timeline. And that is comparison view. If you just double click on comparison view again, it'll go back to normal. That's it. That's a basic tutorial of the color wheel and match inside of Adobe Premiere Pro. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it helps the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to see more tutorials like this, please subscribe to the channel because I'm constantly creating new videos. Anyway, thank you very much and have a great day. Later.